it's Ella. Welcome to my channel, whether you're new here or not. Today we are going to be talking about all of the books that I read in October. First and foremost, I apologize if I'm yelling at you. I'm currently sick and can't hear, my ears are completely clogged and I can't hear anything. So I could be yelling, I could be whispering, we could have an ASMR situation going on and I would have no idea. Let's talk about the books that I read in October. October was actually a really good reading month for me. I think I read 9 or 10 books, which is like average for me, but I loved so many of the books that I read and that I'm gonna get to tell you about today. And my hair is looking wild. The first book that I read that I think really just set the month off or started the month off really strong is A Curse of the Wolf King, right? Yeah, Curse of the Wolf King by Tisonia Odette. This is the first book in the Entangled with Fae series. I think there's 5 books, and each book is based off of a different fairy tale, or it's a retelling of a different fairy tale. Blah. Each book in this series is a different retelling of a different fairy tale set in a world with fae, so set in like a fantasy magical world. This one is the first one, and it is based off of Beauty and the Beast. It's about this girl, her name is Gemma, and she is supposed to like get married, be this perfect little girl, because it is set in kind of olden times, like they have more conservative views, I guess. Anyway, she's supposed to just grow up and be someone's wife, and that's not what she wants to do. She wants to have a job and be independent, so to get away from her father who's trying to force her to marry, she tries to get a job at this palace, or this like castle or estate. That's the word I'm looking for. She tries to get a job with this estate. What she doesn't realize is that there's actually a curse on the estate, and the person, or like the owner of the estate, is King Elliot, and a curse has been set on him and his people that live in the estate, if that makes sense. And so if you've seen Beauty and the Beast, you know what breaks the curse, but King Elliot and Gemma did not know what broke the curse. And I put this down before even talking about how I felt about it. I just told you the synopsis and went, that's good. I gave this book 4.25 stars. I thought it was so good. I breezed through it. It was so like just compulsively readable, I think that's a phrase, or those words make sense together. When I picked this book up, I was in the mood for something fantastical and whimsical, and this book delivered. It is so fun, it is so whimsical, it is so just cute and cozy, and like, obviously there's the curse, and there's some tension between like King Elliot and Gemma, but it's pretty low stakes, pretty cozy. I liked it a lot. 4.25 stars. I think it was just the perfect book for me to read at this time, and I would highly recommend it if you just want something that's fun and cute and cozy and whimsical. Heavy on the whimsy. The next book I read on Kindle Unlimited, and it's Never Lie by Frida McFadden. This is my first Frida McFadden book, and I'd always heard the same thing about her books. You want to read them in a sitting, you can't put them down. It's just like, so just the atmosphere that she builds is phenomenal, and I definitely agree. This book is about this married couple, and they're looking to buy a house. They go to visit this house. They like are city people. They live in the city. City people. They live in the city, and they go to visit this house outside of the city. And the house was once owned by a famous psychiatrist who had some interesting patients, and that psychiatrist went missing a few years prior to the start of the book. Her house is up for sale, and this couple goes to visit the house, and then a snowstorm hits, and because they are so far from the city or anything, really, there's no cell service, there's nothing. And so they're stuck in this house that the psychiatrist went missing from, and nobody ever figured out what happened to her. There's suspicious paintings and things like that. It's wild. It's a wild time. I definitely liked the turns that it took. I definitely agree. I gave this book 4 stars. I definitely liked the turns that it took. I definitely was on the edge of my seat just waiting to see what happened next. Like I said, I read it in a sitting, and I just really liked the way that she built suspense. And I never like thriller characters. There is no character in a thriller that I like or sympathize with, but I kind of sympathized with the main character of this book. Kind of hated her, definitely hated the husband. But the main character and the psychiatrist, honestly, the psychiatrist, I kind of liked her too. So that's impressive because I don't usually like characters in thrillers. Speaking of not liking characters in thrillers, the next book that I read was The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. This book is written by the same guy who wrote The Silent Patient, which is one of my absolute favorite thrillers of all time. I absolutely loved that book. This book is about this woman who, her niece goes to Cambridge University, and her niece and her niece's friends start to die. And just girls that age start to die at Cambridge University. And the aunt gets this idea that it is one of the Greek, I think he's a Greek tragedy professor. Yeah. The Greek tragedy professor is the one that's killing these girls. Then she thinks he's the murderer, and she's going to prove it. So she goes to Cambridge University and she tries to prove it. I did not like a single character in this book. I did not like anyone in this book. I hated the main girl. I thought she was so dumb. So dumb. I didn't like the niece. Thought she was boring. Like, she was just not a very good character. Didn't really like anybody in this book. And I gave it 3 stars on Goodreads, which feels generous because thinking back on this, I can't remember many things that I did like about it, so I'd probably lower it closer to a 2. That happens a lot with me in thrillers, though. After I finish a thriller, it doesn't matter what the twist is, I'm just so like, wow, what a twist. And so I'm always just so awed and thrilled by the twist, and regardless of what it could be. And so I always end up rating them higher than what they should be. The next book that I read, I read in a reading vlog. The next couple of books, I think, actually I read in reading vlogs. But the next book is Hopeless by Elsie Silver. I have been anticipating this book for years. This book is the 5th book in the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver. It goes flawless, heartless, powerless, reckless, and then hopeless. This book is... Okay, so the whole series centers around the Eaton family. The first book is the middle Eaton brother. The second book is the oldest Eaton brother. Middle 2 books, it's like an Eaton cousin and like a best friend, and then it's the 4th one is like a good friend of the Eatons, and they're all connected. This is the youngest Eaton brother, and it's maybe it's the middle. Yeah, sorry. I'm so silly for that. The first book's about the youngest Eaton brother. This is the middle Eaton brother. This book is about Beau. He was in the special ops, the Canadian special forces, the Canadian military, and as the series progresses, something happens to Beau, military related, and in the first book, he's this happy-go-lucky, goofy guy, and then as the books go on and as more things happen to him that you're seeing from other characters' perspectives, you see Beau change from other characters' perspectives. And so this book puts you in Beau's head. The Eatons are like town royalty, and on the other end of the spectrum are the Jansens, and the Jansens are not good people, and they are not well liked by the town. Rightfully so, except for the youngest. So there's like older Jansen boys, and then the youngest is Bailey, and she is the only Jansen daughter. This book is the romance between Beau Eaton and Bailey Jansen. This is a marriage engagement of convenience trope. There is a reason that it is mutually beneficial for both of them to be engaged and to fake a relationship, and therefore, hence, engagement of convenience. So I gave this book 5 stars, and I stand by that. I absolutely loved it. I think there's just something about Elsie Silver's writing and the way she writes a hero. Elsie Silver knows how to write a hero, but she also knows how to write a really good, strong heroine. Love that. I love Elsie Silver. That being said, I think this is my least favorite in the series. I am considering making a TikTok. Oh, I think I'm probably gonna make a TikTok of like ranking the Chestnut Springs series. This is at the bottom. This couple's at the bottom for me. I I don't know. I expected it to be a little bit more emotional. And I mean, like, keep in mind, like, this book, it gave me the 5-star feeling. It's a 5-star book. But I think that if this was the first book in the series, it wouldn't be, if that makes sense. I'm just so attached to this town and these characters and the other side characters that came in. And I did love Beau and Bailey. So this book was a 5 stars. I cannot recommend the Chestnut Springs series by Elsie Silver enough. It is my favorite romance series of all time. Read them. All of them. All of them. Next, we have The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. This book is about a girl named Kiva, and she is the prison healer in this magical prison. This is a young adult fantasy. Forgot to mention that. She is the prison healer in this prison that, like, you go there to die. And she's been there for 10 years. She's been there since she was 7. She's 17 now. And one day, the Rebel Queen also is in the prison, and she's very, very sick, and Kiva is supposed to heal her. The queen was, like, arrested, and her punishment, her sentence, is that she has to complete something called a trials by ordeal, something like that. She has to complete these trials, but she is way too sick to, and so Kiva has a motivation to keep this queen alive. So she says, I'll do the trials instead. Nobody ever survives the trials. The only way you can complete them, the only way you can complete the trials is if you have magic. The only people who have magic are royals. So what's Kiva gonna do? You'll have to read to find out. This book, I gave this book 3.5 stars. The ending was wild. Okay, the entire time I'm reading this book, I'm like, this is fine, this is fine, this is fine. What? I had been told that this book is kind of slow, the pacing is a little bit off, and then the end gets absolutely crazy, and that's 100% true. That is 110% true. This book got wild, and I needed to read the next one in the series immediately. Unfortunately, I went to my Barnes & Noble. They did not have it, and we'll get to that later. But this, by the end, I was just in awe. I also want to mention that I haven't fallen in love with a cast of characters, individual characters, yeah, but like an entire cast of characters. I have not loved a cast of characters like I love this series since, I don't know, 6 of Crows. Like, in a fantasy, like I just said I love the Chestnut Springs characters, but like these characters, they're all so different, but they're all just so lovable, and they each have something different to add, and I am just so in love with them. And I kept reading for the characters. Like, that was because, like I said, the beginning of this was slow, and the whole time I just was eating up every interaction between characters because they're written so well. Lynette Noni should be so proud of herself and the way she writes characters, because that's phenomenal. The next book that I read was Heart of the Raven Prince by Tissonia Odette. This is the second book in the Entangled with Fae series. Like I said, each book in the series is a retelling of a different princess story. This is the Cinderella retelling. This is the book that drew me to this series because Sara Caroli read this book. She got it in like a blind date with a book, read it, and absolutely fell in love with it. She gave it 5 stars. So I went into this book expecting to like it more than I liked the first book. And let me tell you how that was not the case, okay? I rated this book 3 stars. It was the same whimsical, lovely writing that I enjoyed from the first book in the series that I talked about first in this video, but I did not like a single character in this book. There was not a single character, even like the weird vampire prince guy, wasn't super enthralled with him, didn't love him that much. Even like Ember, the main girl, she was fine, but it just like, this book made me so angry. Every single side character hated with every fiber of my being. There is just, and they ruined it for me. There was just no character that I loved enough to make up for how much I hated the side characters, and it just, this whole book made me mad. Ember's situation made me mad, and not in like a tension building way, but in just like a I'm so mad I don't want to read this way. So that was this book. I didn't really explain what it was about, but it's a Cinderella retelling. This girl has a wicked stepmother and 2 wicked stepsisters. They get invited to a ball. She goes to the ball. The prince falls in love with her and is looking for her, but then there is a little twist. and a little look-sees into the third book in the series that I definitely want to read because I'm intrigued. So I'm definitely going to continue with the series because I absolutely love the writing. I just hope, and to be fair, Cinderella retellings have always kind of done that to me. The story of Cinderella makes me so angry. So angry. I didn't ever really like the Cinderella story movies. I think it might just be the story of Cinderella that makes me mad. So maybe I'm being too hard on this book. I gave it 3 stars. Like I said, great writing. I love this world, so whimsical, just not nearly as fun because it just made me so angry. Then I read The XX by Erin Sterling. I gave this book 2 stars, and I think that's generous. I love Hocus Pocus. I love Halloween Town. I love those like cozy, witchy, Halloween fun things. And that's what I was expecting from this book. And this book is only like 308 pages, and maybe that should have been my first indicator that I wouldn't care about any character or storyline in this book, because that's what happened. I did not care about any character. I don't remember their names. I don't even really know why the thing that happened. This girl named Vivian is a witch. She knows she's a witch. She does witchy things, and she has a magical summer with this boy named Reese. And then Reese breaks it off with her because Reese is actually engaged to a girl back home. We never talk about that. We never talk about what happened, by the way. We don't talk, whatever. Vivian is so heartbroken after this 90-day affair that she goes home and she curses Reese. And when she curses Reese, she ends up cursing the whole town, but that doesn't come to fruition until 9 years later for another reason that we don't really talk about. I don't know why the curse started during this book. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention. Maybe I just wasn't invested enough. Maybe it is answered, but I couldn't tell you, could not sit here and tell you. 9 years later, Reese comes back to the town. The town starts going haywire. Things start happening. There's stores that suddenly fill with skull heads. That's peculiar. They try to fix it. And it was like, when I tell you, like, I did not care about a single character in this book. I did not care about a single storyline. Could not have been less invested or entertained. So I gave it 2 stars because it wasn't, like, the writing was good. The writing style was good. I think that there's so many things, like, this was like half of a good book. Like, this could have been a good book if there was just, like, more to it. Just more backstory, more anything. And that's usually my issue with romances that include like a fantastical element. Like, if it's not a full fantasy, the only person that I think does that well is Ashley Poston. She's the only one who I think does that well that I've ever read. If you have any more suggestions, let me know. Then I read The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni, and I gave this book 5 stars. This is the second book in the Prison Healer trilogy. I already explained what the first book is about, and I can't really get into anything in this book without spoiling stuff. So, same characters that I absolutely loved in a new environment, doing new things, and more characters came in that I loved again. Like, even more characters that I absolutely loved. Lynette Noni knows how to make me write a character, and I just absolutely loved this book. I cannot say enough good things about it, except that the end made me really angry, and again, I was like, I need to read this immediately, or I need to read the next book immediately, so I went, and my Barnes & Noble didn't have the book. I was like, what? Why does this keep happening to me? But I'm reading it now, so I did get it. Don't even worry about it. I did get my hands on it. But yeah, The Gilded Cage by Lynette Noni. Cannot recommend the Prison Healer series trilogy enough, and read it. Just read it. The last book that I read in the month of October is Give Me Butterflies by Jillian Meadows. Is that who it is? Yeah, I remembered that. That was so good of me for remembering. This book is about a girl who works with the bugs, she works with the bugs at a museum, and it's a workplace romance with the girl who works with the bugs at the museum and the guy who works with the stars at the museum. And it's just kind of their romance. It's a workplace Grumpy Sunshine and Single Parent, well, like Single Caregiver, because this guy's sister passed away, leaving him the custody of her 5-year-old twins. So sorry, that was hard for me to get out. I picked this book up because I saw a quote on a TikTok. We've all fallen victim, and sometimes leads me astray dramatically. This time it did not. I gave this book 4 stars. It was cute. It was fun. I read it in one sitting. I would strongly recommend it, and I will finish. I think the next book comes out. I think the next book actually might be like a holiday book because it comes out in the first week of December, and I think it had like a Christmassy looking cover. But so I'll definitely be reading that book in the series. I just don't know that this was super memorable. Definitely not like my favorite romance ever. It wasn't something that I'll think about for years, like for a really long time. But it is something that if you were looking for just like a feel-good, fun read with one of the tropes that I mentioned, would strongly recommend this. I thought it was cute. I thought it was good. And yeah, that was all of the books that I read in October. Like I said, it was a pretty good reading month. I feel like the quality of what I read was really, really good. I had a couple 5-star reads. I had a lot of 4-star reads. I really enjoyed a lot of the things that I read. And at the end of the day, we read for enjoyment, not for numbers. So I would call this a good reading month. Wouldn't you say? Wouldn't you say? Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you feel so inclined. And I will see you when I see you. Bye, guys. Oh, that's new. Don't know why I chose to do that.